Hello and welcome back to Gaming Source Network, your number one source for all things gaming. This is the GSN Round Table Podcast, episode number 63. My name is Dom, and we've got a great show for you tonight. 64, if someone didn't change the show notes. Let's get to it. We've got a fantastic guest for you tonight. You probably know him all from the extremely popular YouTube channel, NerdNest. Their Stadia-orientated podcast, StadiaCast, amongst all the other podcasts that Bill does. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Very welcome. Before we get started, did you know you can also get the Roundtable as an audio podcast? Search for Gaming Source Network on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get podcasts, and you will find us there. Also, if you're watching us live and you want to be part of the conversation, get in the chat, send us a little message. If you really want to show some support and make sure we see your message, do a super chat or a super sticker, and we'll feature your message and we might do a little bit more. Last but not least, you can join GSN right here on YouTube. Members get amazing perks from exclusive community play live streams to early access videos to GSN merch. So click that join button below and learn more to become a member. Hello, Dan. Hello, welcome as well on my right. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic, but apologies if my computer's all over the place and I sound like a robot at the moment.
Your audio is a little bit out of sync, but that is fine.
Other than that, fine.
Bill,
yeah,
please give everyone for those that don't know who you are or haven't seen you before, a little bit of your gaming history and how you became involved in the community and just what you're all about.
I mean, I've always really enjoyed talking about video games, and eventually, after getting past all of my hangups, I decided to make a podcast about games. That was called Run Jump Stomp a billion years ago, and then I ended up taking that podcast and then the Nintendo Switch came out, so I made Nintendo Switchcraft, and then Stadia came out, so I made StadiaCast. And basically, anytime that something is something that I think is exciting or fun to talk about, I end up making a show about it. And I think that maybe I like talking about stuff more than I like actually playing this stuff. I always get sucked into talking about stuff. I just can't stop.
Well, I think you've been playing some Apple Arcade stuff recently, right? I think I've been seeing
Oh my God. There's this game. If you have Apple Arcade and you haven't played this game, Sping, I think that's how you say it. It's a stupid title, SP, and then an exclamation point, NG. So I assume that it's supposed to be like an upside down I or something, but Sping is so fantastic. I 100%ed it, and I'm not a guy who usually plays games on my phone, but they've come a long way since the last time that I tried, which was, I don't know, 5 years ago was the last time I tried to play a game on my phone. That game's fantastic.
You have to admit, I was recently stuck somewhere for 6 hours, and I tried just looking for games on my phone. I'm not an iOS user, and I was really just stuck. Obviously, I can use Stadia and everything, but I didn't have a controller, so I didn't want to use touch controls. And I was just trying to. There's so many games that are just filled with ads and microtransactions, and I have a key sheet, but I didn't bring it with me. I was unprepared. Yes.
I just like to be able to have a device in my hand rather than, okay, I got my device. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, Dan just held up some kind of controller contraption. I never carry any of that stuff with me.
Yeah, you've got to know you're going out with and prepare for it. But
I have my key sheet in my work bag now all the time, so that during lunch or whatever, if I'm feeling it, I can just play some FIFA or something. It works for stuff like that, and if I'm going traveling or whatever, I'll stick it in my bag and it's fine. But sometimes you're not prepared for these things, so you can't always carry them around with you. Let's see, we got some people in the chat as well. We'll say hello. We got Disto with a bit of hype. Hello, Disto. Acecam, Kevin from the GSN team as well. Raven with the Pika. Always the Pika. Hello to Ray. In lead, F, and even NerdNest is in here. Who let them guys in, right?
Mistakes were made.
So what has been on everyone's playlist this week? We'll start. I think we'll give our guest first dibs on this. What have you been playing this week, Bill?
Honestly, I have not been playing very much this week. Unfortunately, I've been learning Final Cut Pro, and so I've been like watching tutorials on how to do this and how to do that, and trying out like multicam editing nonsense where I was recording on this camera and my phone at the same time and my screen at the same time, and trying to learn how all that stuff goes together. So I haven't had a chance to really dive into any real like video games. I did just get a review copy of oh damn it, I can't remember the name. Outlast on Stadia. So I'm going to try that out shortly. And my wife and I are looking forward to this weekend when we get to sit down and play some more Resident Evil 7. That game is amazing. I love that game.
It's Resident Evil's great. Outlast is also, I'd recommend if you like kind of fantasy games. It's a weird one because it's kind of that fantasy game where you're not like immediately a hero that's powerful and everything. You have to kind of earn it. So good luck with that.
Thank you. Oh, I was wrong. It's Gods Will Fall. Gods Will Fall
right.
is the game.
I know nothing about
I don't know why
so...
I confused the names for some reason. I'm old. Sorry.
I believe that's on the agenda for later, isn't it? That game as well. So we'll probably talk a little bit more about
that. Dan, what have you been playing this week?
So I've been doing it backwards. I've been playing Resident Evil Village, and I haven't even played Resident Evil 7 yet. So it's one of those things. Anybody that knows me and has seen my Twitter knows that I'm a massive fan of the Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 remakes, and obviously the originals.
Are we having this rant again? How you don't think that 7 and 8 are like
no,
the rest
actually,
of them?
I'm gonna kind of go back on what I said a little bit. I mean, to me, those 3 will always be better than what I've played so far of Village and what I've seen of Resident Evil 7. But I am enjoying it more than what I thought I would. I've literally just got to the bit. I don't want to kind of ruin anything for anybody, but I think I'm probably one boss away from the final boss and completing the game. I think I'm that far in. Obviously, I don't know how much is after what I've got to so far, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it and just taking my time to explore each of the rooms and make sure I get all the treasures and stuff like that. So, ticking off some of the achievements as I go along, and I kind of want to put as much effort into this one as I did the previous Resident Evils and give it a proper chance. I know that if you put enough effort into number 3 was the easiest, I think, but you can get the infinite weapons, like the infinite handgun and infinite shotgun and things like that. And I think once you unlock them, the game becomes a whole lot more level of fun because you don't have to worry about ammo and you don't have to worry about dying as much because you have infinite ammo. So but yeah, that's literally been the only thing on my playlist. We last did a podcast other than mobile games like Pokemon Go, which is obviously...
How many hours have you put into Village, do you reckon?
Probably about 7 after today.
Because I know lots of people having different kind of like finishing times because it gives you the time when you finish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of range between like some people have rushed through in like 8 hours to people up to like 16, 17 hours. So I think it depends on your play style, right? Like if you're exploring every nook and cranny.
I mean... it depends on your playstyle, whether you're exploring every room and making sure you're getting all the treasures, because it shows you the map in red, which means you've still not found something in that particular room. Once it goes blue, you've found everything there is to find in that room. There's all sorts of hidden treasures and hidden weapons you can find, but also it depends on whether you're good at the game, I guess, whether you spend ages on a boss or, you know what I mean. And I'd say this one, for me, it's got a new level of difficulty. I'm used to the older Resident Evils. I know how zombies walk and this, that, and the other, but there's a lot of enemies in this that you kind of don't know how to approach. So it's challenging enough to keep me gripped. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would.
I was talking to a friend of mine. I was telling them about Resident Evil 7 and how much I'm enjoying it, and they have been harping on me for years and years and years. It feels like to play the Last of Us series, and I keep saying, "Well, I'll get to it." And he's like, "It takes 8 hours to get through, or something like that." And I said, "Well, yeah, but when I play these games, I walk real slow. Like my character, I'm like." Okay, I'm going to creep up. I'm going to take 3-4 steps. I'm going to stop. I'm going to look behind me. I'm going to look behind me. And I'm going to creep forward. So whatever your playtime is, mine is easily going to be double that because it takes me so long to get anything done because I'm such a coward when it comes to these games.
No, in terms of the scariness of the game, I mean, I always feel like I'm bragging when I say this, and I'm really not. But like, not a lot scares me when it comes to video games. And I've said before, I wish sometimes that it would scare me because I want to have that feeling of being scared. So I just spend most of my time just looking in corners of rooms for hidden items, and there's like little hidden goats and stuff you have to find throughout the game. I
you say like goats
for them. Yeah, they're like they're like little goat statues, and they're collectibles that you have to knife.
Kind of like in 7, there's like the bobbleheads. That I
guess
yeah. Okay.
But so, like you were saying about a lot of being scared. That's like, I think a lot of people, like you said, of like, oh, it's really jumpy or whatever. But I guess that's the kind of same with like horror films. Like some people are just not scared at horror films at all because it's like, oh wow, something jumped out, and it's not good. It's not real. Whereas some people I know who watch a horror film and they just scream their head off because they're just they're petrified of everything. Okay, it must be the same for games, right? Like, just some people find stuff scary, some don't.
I think you just have to. I think some people have trouble letting go of letting themselves get immersed. Like a buddy of mine, I tried as hard as I could to get him to watch the Marvel movies. He watched Iron Man, and he got right up to the point where in the first Iron Man, where now like he's catching cars and stuff like that, and he goes, "I'm shutting that off. That's stupid." And I was like, "You got it. Look, you might enjoy it if you just let yourself believe. Like, suspend your disbelief for 5 seconds, and you might enjoy it." And he's like, "The physics is all wrong." And I was like, "Okay, what? All right, pal, you're missing out on some fun stuff."
I mean, it's not like I don't try. I mean, I turn all the lights off, and you know what I mean. I try and get myself in the mood when I'm playing the game to be scared. But I think once you've seen enough horror films, you kind of know when the jump scares are coming, and you know when to, and then you know when they're going to try and fake scare you as well. And then
I get like Resident Evil and stuff doesn't scare me, but things that I believe could be real, like those kind of films, scare me. And we're getting a bit sidetracked, but those kind of films are the ones that scare me. Like when you can't see like a monster or something, it's just something's there, so you don't know if it's what it is. Does that make sense?
Oh, it's always better when they won't show you what it is.
Like Blair Witch,
they show you.
Like Blair Witch, you never saw anything, but that film petrified me because I would never go camping in the woods now. Anyway, what have I been playing this week? I re-downloaded Sea of Thieves actually, because that was a game that I pre-ordered many moons ago when it first launched. I've been getting incredibly frustrated with that game because I don't know if either of you have played it, but if as many people say in that game, it's Sea of Thieves, not Sea of Friends, and you can sometimes have a ship full of loot and treasure, and some guys come along and will quickly sink you and take it, and you just lost about 5 hours worth of game time, and it's like, yep, that happened, and you kind of just want to turn off your computer and go to bed. But that's a good game. And also I've been playing Hunt Showdown again this week because that game is awesome, and I wish it came to some other platforms.
Oh, and I've almost forgot, because you mentioned Sea of Thieves. I forgot. I've also been playing Streets of Rage 4 because I just got my Xbox, and I played the hell out of Streets of Rage 4, which I could have played it on other platforms easily, but for some reason I ended up playing it on my Xbox, and I finished it this week. So I'd forgotten that I had played that this week, but I started and finished it, and it was really great.
That's like, I've never played any of the Streets of Rage. They're like fighters, like beat 'em ups, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So similar to like
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I played the original back on the Sega Genesis and really, really enjoyed that. But then I didn't play any of the other ones. And then when I saw this one, and the way that they did the art and all of the art is all hand drawn stuff.
Oh.
It's a gorgeous game, and it's really, really fun. Although sometimes it can get frustrating. Like there were two of the bosses that I was really struggling to fight, and I didn't want to play online because I didn't want to get carried. So I ended up just struggling through it, and but I really enjoyed it, and it's on Game Pass. So if you've got that, then check it out. It's really fun.
So I found myself when I'm programming away, I like to sometimes put a soundtrack to a game on, something without words or something that I don't get distracted, but there's still a bit of background music. And I did find myself the other week listening to the Streets of Rage 2 OST.
Mm-hmm.
And I got incredibly nostalgic because I've probably not played this game in like 20 years or something. And I just forgot how amazing the music was in that game. And like I knew that Streets of Rage 4 was out, and it's got me incredibly hyped to try it out. But I'm kind of one of these people, I won't touch another game until I've finished. If I'm invested in something like Resident Evil, for example, I won't touch anything else until I've completed it. So on the plus side, I get to play it for the first time whenever I do decide to play it, but I'm hoping it's going to be soon. So you've just kind of got me pumped again there.
Yeah, the music in it's great in the first, I don't know, like 5 levels. The last few levels, I don't know, they tried to do something with the music, and I just didn't like it. It was a little too... I can't remember the genre of music. It's like techno, but noisier. And I didn't like where they were going with it at the end. So I ended up turning the music off and listening to my own music for the last few levels, just because it was a little irritating.
It's amazing what a difference though music makes in games. Like that's just as a whole different topic, but like one of my greatest memories was Far Cry 3 having there's a dubstep track that comes in like when you're burning a field of weed, and it works so well, and it just makes the whole experience so much better. But yeah, random point. Right, we'll do some news, I think. We've had a bunch of news for both Stadia and GeForce Now, and as usual we will start with Stadia. So we had a blog post earlier in the week, last week, in fact, the 14th, with 2 new games coming to Stadia, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, and a new free-to-play game, Super Animal Royale. Have either of you played the Shantae series at all?
I've not played it, but I've seen we've got a review up on Stadia Source. Am I robotic again?
No, you're fine. I was just again, it's one of those games that no one's ever played. None of us have played, so
I played a tiny bit of Shantae. It didn't appeal to me.
I'm just conscious of that because my computer just keeps going.
It's all right.
Like,
you're fine,
screen,
Dan.
So.
Well, it's due to release summer 2021, and there doesn't seem to be any video or gameplay or trailer or anything yet. It's the 3rd game in the series, if I'm correct.
I think so. It looks like it's an old GBA game. I think the aesthetic of not like the art that's showing now, but the aesthetic of the way that the game looks when it's played is very appealing to me, and I just have too many options. So going back to play these, I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. It's
always the case with Stadia, though, isn't it? I mean, like we often have on this podcast, we're like, has anybody played this game? And everyone's like, no. And it's not because they don't want to play it or they think it's a bad game. It's necessarily, it's just there's that much to play that, you know what I mean? Even if we have jumped in for 5 minutes, it's not enough to form a good opinion of it. So.
Mm-hmm.
And the other new game coming is Super Animal Royale, which
would be something that
this I'm quite looking forward to. I think when I first saw it, I was kind of like meh, but the more I look at it, like I've seen some gameplay videos, it actually looks pretty fun. So for those that don't know, it's a 2D battle royale game with 60 players, I think it is, and you're just animals. So it's a weird, cute / horror, not horror, violence
It kind of reminds me a bit of the Happy Tree Friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say,
that.
I haven't watched that in years, but yeah,
probably not as gory, but
no. But yeah, there seem to be different maps and everything, and you have to obviously loot and shoot and gun.
So I'm hoping this. I think this said it was going to be cross-platform as well. I hope that they kind of incorporate crowd play into this, because I could see this being quite a good game to play, like with your audience if you're a streamer. I mean, we've seen obviously how well things like PUBG have done on Stadia when it first came out with people streaming it. And games such as like Super Bomberman as well, and how good they are with crowd play and getting people involved to play with your audience. So hopefully this could be another one of those games that showcases Stadia's potential.
Yeah, something I just noticed while the trailer was playing that I never noticed before is it seems like they have like line of sight.
Yeah, there's like fog of war.
Yeah. And so if somebody is hiding behind a corner, you're not necessarily going to see where they are. And I never noticed that when I watched the trailers before.
Here, like with this darkness, you can't see anyone here, because that's what I saw when I saw trade. Someone was like hiding in a tent, and there was shooting going on around him, and he kept popping out to see, but he couldn't see outside the tent once he was in it. So yeah, that'll be like, obviously you can't just see people across the map then. So the gameplay is going to be a bit more tactical, I think, like juking behind objects and hiding, and it's cool. I'm looking forward to it.
And I really like the sense of humor that they have going on with the trailer as well. Everything's all super cutesy and everything, and then next thing you know, this guy gets a dart in the neck. It's just funny to me. I think it's great.
And also important to note, it's going to be the fourth free-to-play game after Crater, Destiny, and Super Bomberman. I think they're the three.
I'm still waiting for Pac-Man to be free to play, because everybody needs to play that. I love that game.
Yeah.
It would make sense.
Oh, Dom disagrees.
I mean, I think Pac-Man was before my time. Like, I don't see the appeal.
I think we should play one Pac-Man. You've kind of played them all, but that doesn't go to say that they're still any less enjoying than.
I mean, each their own, right? Everyone likes different types of games. There's personal taste. It's just
you guys can be wrong if you want.
I'll wear that, Brad.
What else do we have? We had Lies of P rumored to be coming to Stadia. If I can find now that tab.
Yeah, it comes an
now. So this was listed on IGN, or was it Polygon? IGN or Polygon basically said it was coming to Stadia, and then they were asked to retract that. So it's a Souls-like game. I'll play the trailer here, and now there doesn't be any information whether it's coming to Stadia or not. I believe Lee reached out to them, and they basically said nothing. They didn't say yes or no.
So, I mean, we knew that that's what they were going to say anyway. But it's one of those things. Whenever we post things that are rumored, we obviously tell you to keep it speculative for the time being. It's possible that this was just a complete error and they wrote Stadia by accident. And once one news publication puts it out, the others tend to kind of, borrow from that as well. And or it could have been a case where it was announced before it was meant to be. But if this game does come out, I'm actually looking forward to this, because it's kind of like a Pinocchio. It's set in the world of like Pinocchio type. Whereas if you lie, I think something happens to your character. Not if you lie. I can't think of what it was now. I read about it somewhere.
Is it not Lies? Because it's called Lies of P. Does that not make sense?
Yeah, but I don't actually.
The whole thing with Pinocchio is if he lies, his nose grows.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking how that equates to a game. That's all. But maybe I'm just confusing myself.
Well, it's a Souls-like, so you tell lies to make your nose longer, and then you can swing your head around and attack.
Yeah,
that's probably.
Or maybe you lie to make your sword bigger. I don't know. But it's an interesting game. Is it the Soul kind of games your type of game, Bill?
So I played Dark Souls 3, and I got to the Red Knight. And if you've played Dark Souls 3, then you know that that's when the game is like, hey, everybody, this isn't what you thought it was. It's hard. And you're like, oh, okay. And I probably beat the Red Knight once and then moved on to do other stuff and got killed and then had to go back and fight the Red Knight again. And I could never beat him again. And I said, all right, I'm out. I've had enough. Not fun. I'm glad I didn't spend much money on it. And it's not that I don't like that game. It's that I'm not good enough to play that game. My skill level is too low. And I don't want to put in the effort that it takes in order to get my skill level high enough to get good at the game. But I can definitely appreciate the amazing quality of that game. It's just not something that I can do. Same thing with what's the one that's on Stadia already? It's the Japanese samurai guy. It's fantastic. It's so good.
Shakira, that's it.
Shakira? No, I don't think so.
Sekiro.
Yeah, Sekiro. It's your accents. Yeah. Yeah, Sekiro. That game is really good. I probably put about 15 hours into it before I hit a wall, as you do in these games. And I could have kept playing, but I decided not to. The idea that this is a Souls-like means I'm probably not going to enjoy it nearly as much as I'd like to. But I love the idea of the setting that they're going for. Although it's hard for me to get excited about this particular game because it's just a trailer. You know, it's a trailer of CG crap. I don't actually know what the gameplay is like. So every time that they do that, I'm always skeptical that they have anything real.
Well, this is quite a while away. It's 2023, they're saying. So a good 2 years probably still before anything comes of it. But we might see some gameplay next year or something. But it seems, you seem to play as Pinocchio, a puppet mechanoid.
Weird.
Cool story. It's a bit weird that they've decided to go with Pinocchio, but if it works, it works, I guess.
Yeah. Drew Carey is probably starring in this as well.
Yeah, that guy, Drew Carey.
He played Geppetto in the TV in a movie called Geppetto.
I didn't know that, and we've lost Dan because Dan doesn't know who Drew Carey is either. Apparently,
yeah.
Right.
He's like, oh great, we're talking about Drew Carey. I'm out of here.
I then have some more news as well. I need to 2 new expansions as well from one of the games which you mentioned earlier. From Gods Will Fall and Outward got 2 expansions. Here we go. So Outward, the Three Brothers. Again, have you played Outward, Bill?
No, I never checked this one out. Mostly, I can't remember when it originally came out, but I feel like it came out right on the heels of something else that I was super busy with, like some other game, and so I never tried this one.
I played it a long time ago on Steam before Stadia, and it's challenging. So I played it co-op with a friend. And it's, as I said, you play as it's a like RPG fantasy game, but you're not the typical hero. So you're not born with all this power and can do magic and everything. You have to earn everything you do, and everything comes with trade-offs. And you still have to back. You still have to hunt and still have to like rest and everything. So it's more like a survivalish type fantasy roleplay game. It's a great game. But it launched and it was quite expensive on Stadia. But yeah, I haven't bought it on Stadia, so I probably won't buy the expansion on Stadia. I might on Steam. But Dan, have you played Outward at all?
I have not.
Cool. Moving on. Gods Will Fall. Again, this is not a game I've played, but I've seen some people play it. Have you tried it, Bill, or have you just got the copy and not?
I just got the copy today, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and try it yet.
Is that including the expansion?
You know what? I'm not sure. It's the Valiant edition.
Yeah, so it will be.
So does that have the expansion?
Yeah, I think that's like the Ultimate Edition sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I saw it and I was like, this looks cool. And I think when it first came out, again, I was busy doing something else. So I was like, well, I'll pass on it for now. But then I saw it on the This Week in Stadia post, and I said, okay, I'm gonna see if they'll send me a copy so I can check that one out. So I sent him a copy, and it's on my phone right now. So I'm gonna try and play it sometime in the near future.
So from my understanding, there's like a selection of gods, and you have to go into a trial. You have to pick one, and then go in, and then you fight as that god in that trial or something like that. I think I saw Jem playing it when it first came out, but I've not picked it up or played it, so I can't really give my commentary.
I think Blue Bobs has played it on our YouTube before. I think it was Blue Bobs.
So where is Blue Bobs? We need Blue Bobs.
I know he keeps saying he'll be back, but we need him back on the pod.
I know, right?
We're losing people every day.
Well, Avery should be back soon. He's for those that don't know, he's recently moved, so he's dealing with all sorts of moving.
Everybody decided to move house at the exact same time.
Yeah, literally, like F moved, Avery moved,
Lee moved.
Obviously, there's something in the air.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Some new game ratings were also released. If I just share that.
Dom, I just noticed the picture behind you, the Back to the Future picture. That's awesome.
Back to the Future?
Is that not the picture from Back to the Future of Marty and his family?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
No, that's a really, really old, horrible picture of myself, my siblings, and my grandma.
Oh my God. You have got to bring up a picture of Marty and his family and look at that.
Bill could notice people slightly disappearing in it as time goes on.
I swear to you, that looks just like the photo that Marty looks at from Back to the Future.
Were they standing on a wall?
Yeah,
I don't know.
At first, I thought, when were the stormtroopers in Back to the Future?
Yeah, I'm like, what?
I watched the wrong one.
All right, I didn't mean to derail the podcast. But that was a Back to the Future reference.
No, it's no.
You should put one up now.
I will find one. So Moonlighter was rated by ESRB last week or 2 days ago, actually, which is a action RPG with sort of roguelike elements. It looks interesting, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it otherwise. I think it's been out a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on other platforms. It's really good. I didn't get sucked into it because the way the game works, you know how most dungeon crawlers, you go into the dungeon, you get the loot, then you come back to town and you sell the loot to, the town store, right?
Yep.
In this game, you go to the dungeon, you get the loot, and then you come back and you own the store and you're selling the stuff to your customers. And so it has two gameplay loop, or it has a gameplay loop that has two different kinds of gameplay. One where you're out there getting loot, and then the next one where you are managing your store and being like, okay, I'm going to set this price at this. I'm going to set this price at this. And now I'm going to pay attention to what the customers think of my prices to try and get the most money that I possibly can. The action is really good. The selling stuff, I didn't like that at all. And so I ended up not playing very much of it, but it's got awesome animations and it's got fantastic art direction. I'm a real big fan of this game. I just wish that I liked the other part of the game more. And that's all on me and not on the game itself. It's just something that didn't click with me.
I might have to check this out then. I wasn't aware of like the actual shop management side of it. I knew you had to sell the items, but that's actually probably the last mobile game I played. It was a game called Shop Titans, where I ran a store, and I loved that game. So maybe I'll give this a go. Yeah, 2018 that came out, so quite a while ago. Dan, you interested in Moonlighter?
I haven't watched that trailer. Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for any kind of game that uses like pixel art as well, especially when they obviously make it look new generation.
It looks really smooth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the animations look really like, I know some pixel art games looks kind of like the animations are quite jerky, but this looked really like smooth and modern in a way. So cool.
Seeing that trailer's made me more interested though, yeah. Definitely.
We also had Gigantosaurus. Yeah, that word. Gigantosaurus.
Not just Gigantosaurus. Gigantosaurus, the game.
The game, right?
As
in case you were confused to whatever else. Seems much more of a kids game, and
there are a lot of kids games being rated at the moment, and
platformery kind of game.
It's fantastic to see because whilst obviously they're probably not going to be games that I get that immersed into, I do have younger nephews, and whenever they come around my house, they kind of, hey, Bill's in it.
Yeah.
They lap this kind of game up, so it'd be good to kind of keep them busy for a little bit.
I mean, yeah. Cool. not my kind of game at all. I mean, I'm not going to be brutally honest, so we'll leave it there.
But yeah, outright games you see in the bottom right there. They've had quite a few.
So they interesting on Twitter. They were basically like, we were interested in bringing a load of games to Stadia, but we can't say what and we don't know when. We'll let you know. And then about a day later or something, a load of ratings came out. So
yeah, things like Ben 10, and I was a bit annoyed that the Peppa Pig didn't get announced for Stadia there.
Were you looking forward to that game in particular?
Yeah, why not?
I'm not sure if it's from watching your stream through StreamYard or not, but I don't know. I'm not really a frame rate snob by any stretch of the imagination, but good God, that game looks all kinds of framey, and that's just a cutscene thing. Like, I'm like, really?
I mean, that's what I was going to say. This game looks like it's made in like 2014. Like,
yeah, a lot of these are older games,
but this isn't that old. This is a year old.
No, maybe it's just the StreamYard.
Yeah, we'll go with StreamYard. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Another game that was rated, Ice Age Scrat Nutty Challenge.
This is
That's smooth frame rate. Look at that. That's better.
This is my type of game.
Are you going to be getting scratched, lost nut?
I'm going to be snatching the controller off my nephews for this one.
But another platformy kids game.
Yeah, it's kind of Crash Bandicoot-y. It's Sonic-y, I guess. I do love these type of games. I'm not going to be ashamed to admit it. So
when did yeah. Like, what? I don't understand why I'd ever want to play this when I could be playing like Resident Evil 8 or something.
I don't know. Sometimes it just depends what mood you're in. Like, I sometimes just want to sit down and play a game that's not too difficult, or you don't actually have to use your brain too often. For me, Minecraft is one of those games that I can just kind of chill out and zone out to, and this looks kind of one of those games as well. So,
Bill, you're going to be getting scratched, lost nut?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it looks fine, I guess. And look, I don't want to say that it's I don't want anybody to think that I'm insulting it by saying this looks like a game for kids, because it just like, it seems like it's that demographic that cares about this prehistoric squirrel guy. But if I want to play a 3D platformer, I'm going to play Mario. Sorry, that's just the way it is, because Nintendo makes those better than anybody. I'm sorry, Jem's in chat, and he's going to be like, Crash Bandicoot, and he's going to yell at me. So that's fine. I've never played a Crash Bandicoot, so maybe I'm wrong.
You're not.
I can be wrong if I want to, and that's how it goes.
So, I mean, I'm gonna diversify a little bit here, but like, I had zero interest in Mario Golf when I saw it announced. Anybody that knows me knows.
Have you gone from Scratch Lost Nut to Mario Golf?
He just mentioned Mario, so.
Remember?
But
I would never do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm just going to go off tangent for a second here. Like, when I first saw that it was announced, I was like, I'm more of a Sonic guy myself. I had zero interest in the game. And then I watched the trailer the other day. I think it was Stadia Vet Gaming or something. He was watching the trailer, or it might have been Stadia Dad Gaming, watching the trailer for it. And like I realized there was a whole different element to the game that wasn't just golf. It was like you could actually run around and hit people with golf clubs and stuff. And it's almost like a Mario Party type thing. And I was like, yeah, I actually might have to check this game out now. So I'm glad I've got a Switch.
Well, Mario Golf is, as the kids say, straight fire. It's awesome. I'm excited for it.
May have changed my mind on
When's it coming out?
I don't know. Soon.
I thought it was out already. Oh, fair enough. I don't know anything. Cool. So that is the game ratings. If I can find my notes. There we go. Other pieces of news. We'll quickly go over these. War Chest has taken over as the publisher for Outcasters. So for those who are subscribers to Stadia Pro, blah, 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 and you've claimed this game, you would have got an email. I certainly did.
Yep.
From Stadia themselves, basically saying, dear Stadia player, starting on 31st of May 2020, the publisher of Outcasters will change from Google to War Chest, giving you their terms of service and privacy policy. They said nothing else is changing. You can still play the game just like before. Thoughts on this, anyone? Anything? Is this something to be worried about? Is this just...
No, this is a good thing. This means that game is going to continue to get support because SGenie shut down. Google is basically saying, we don't want to make games. We just want to make the platform. We're not interested in making games, which means that the games that are on there that are published by Google, like you're wondering, are we going to get updates? Are we going to get updates for Orcs Must Die 3? Are we going to get updates for, I forget the one that's all humorous, first person, you're a spaceman.
Journey to the Savage Planet.
Yeah. Journey to the like, are we going to get updates for that stuff? Are we going to get updates for Outcasters? Well, now Outcasters has a new publisher. Well, I think that means we're going to continue to get updates for that, so that can keep evolving and getting better. War Chest, I'm telling you right now, that game could be absolutely huge. It's awesome. It's incredibly fun. Make it free to play. Make it free to play and monetize people's fashion, people's need to play dress up. That game could be amazing and awesome, but right now, nobody's playing it because you got to pay money for it or you got to be Stadia Pro. And honestly, let's be honest, the audience there is pretty small. So you want to make a lot of money, make it free to play, and it's such a good game.
Do you think maybe we'll see this on other platforms then as well?
I hope so. I hope it's on all platforms and it's all cross-play because I want everybody to be able to play games wherever they want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think this game, like, I do enjoy this game, but one of the reasons I stopped playing it was just there's only 3 game modes, and once you've played them, you know what I mean. There's nothing really. There's no replayability after that, especially when all you're up against is bots. Like Bill said, there's not as much of an audience for it as what there was when it first came out.
No.
So if this game did come out on other platforms, cross-play included, free to play, obviously you wouldn't have a crowd play on the other platforms, but that could be something that's obviously pulls people into the Stadia version.
But even if it's just free to play, then everybody can play it because you don't have to buy a box to play it. So you just get monetized a different way, and they would make so much more money. Same thing with Pac-Man.
Do you think that was the Google decision then to say, no, we don't want to make it free to play, let's make it Stadia Pro to get people hooked into Stadia Pro?
I hope not, because that's pretty myopic. Like, nobody is subscribing to Stadia Pro for Outcasters. I'm sorry, they're not.
At least not for more than a month.
And no, but sometimes like companies make decisions that may seem interesting, I'll say.
I think they thought that it would bring more value to Stadia Pro if they did do it for that reason. Then
I don't think that they did it for that reason. I think the reason it became part of Stadia Pro is because they're like, we want to be able to offer something to not to entice people to Stadia Pro, but to reward people for like they only have so many options, right? For games that they can entice people with. So they have to go with their first party stuff. They have to. Like they don't have a choice. So of course it was going to be, if it's published by Stadia, it's going to be a Stadia Pro title. Now that it's not, I think that it's better suited to be improved in the future. And that dog agrees.
Big Outcasters fans. Yeah, like it's interesting. Like everyone got the email and everything, and it was kind of out of the blue. But yeah, I guess it makes sense. Like there was that big hoo-ha with Journey to the Savage Planet because no one was kind of taking responsibility for patching it and stuff. And if these games, then Google can just be like, "Hey, you deal with that. We'll just provide the platform." Yeah, good thing I think. Cool. Last few bits on the news for Stadia. New content coming to Super Bomberman. This was announced, I think, yesterday when they tweeted out that basically Super Bomberman now has a date for other platforms. Super Bomberman are online, which is May the 27th for those interested. And they're launching some other stuff alongside. Either of you a big Bomberman? I know, Dan, you're a Bomberman fan, aren't you?
Only since this version, like obviously everybody's played Bomberman at some point. I mean, if you're a gamer that's been around for a while, you've played Bomberman. But I actually enjoyed this one on Stadia a lot more than I thought I would, and we had a lot of the community playground with Avery, getting everybody in with the crowd play. Seeing the lobbies fill up to 40, 50 people plus. Was always fun game to be had. We got a few people that obviously dominated the playing field, and they would win pretty much all of the matches. But it's still fun to try.
It was crazy how some people were on this game. That boggles my mind. Like I genuinely feel like I'm fairly competent at most games, and in this, I'm just like, what? How's he done that? And all he's doing is throwing a bomb at me. Like it was crazy.
But yeah, it's good to see that obviously that this is coming out for more platforms. Again, it's cross-play as well, so it might breathe a new breath of fresh air into the game on Stadia as well. It might give people a reason to actually come back and play on Stadia. Again, to me, it's a similar scenario than what we just hypothesized with Outcasters, but this is obviously a fact as opposed to just hypotheses. So.
Yeah, and so there seems to be the Battle Pass with a free tier, Silver Pass, where you up to 100 ranks with a few little cosmetics, and then there's the Gold Pass, which you pay for, same 100 ranks, but there's lots more items, basically. And none of them affect gameplay, they're all cosmetic stuff. And it's 800 bomber coins, which I don't know how much that is in real money.
Old Snake as well, new bombers. So.
And I was saying, and it seems to be seasonal, so they'll have seasons of stuff. So it'll be like a couple of months of one pass, and then they'll move it on to something else. It's cool. Gives them some form of income and stuff as well to keep developing stuff for the game and fixing it and adding more stuff. So for Bomberman fans, it's good. I know a lot of when this first launched on Stadia on Twitter, you get the usual, "Oh my god, why are you launching on Stadia? I want to play this on X." X, Y, and Z. So hopefully this now will give that opportunity for those people that refuse to pick Stadia up, and they can join in.
But you do get the doomsayers that say that obviously Stadia has just lost an exclusive and there's less reason to get it on Stadia now. But
again, like Bill said with Outcasters, I think that's one of the games that draws people in. Like it's a smaller game of just, and to me anyway, I might be talking absolute rubbish. Like I wouldn't be like, wow, that platform is Super Bomberman, I got to get in there. Like that's not like, it's cool and I'll play it, but it's not like one of the big games that's going to be like, well, I've definitely got to invest in this platform because God, I love Super Bomberman. Like
it's probably more the bigger titles when that happens that probably has a bigger impact. But
I guess so. I've said a million times, I don't think exclusives are important for cloud gaming. I don't think exclusives are important for Luna. I don't think they're important for Stadia. I don't think they're going to be important for GFN or the Xbox. They need to come up with a better name. The xCloud one, which that's a good name. I don't think the exclusives matter for that. What matters for that is convenience. Can I play where I want to? If that's the case, people are going to use it, especially once they get past all of the negativity. But you don't need an exclusive. You need an exclusive to sell a box. You need an exclusive to sell that kind of thing, but you don't need an exclusive to sell something that you don't have to pay any money for, especially a game like this is free to play. I mean, it didn't launch free to play, but now it's free to play.
Yeah.
Right? It is, right? It's free to play now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
It should have launched free to play.
Muted, but yes, it is. That Greater and Destiny are the current ones, I think. That's what we said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been outspoken when it comes to saying that I hate exclusivity. To me, exclusivity is anti-consumer. To say that you can only play certain games on a certain platform, there's plenty of games I want to play on PlayStation, such as the Final Fantasy VII remake. And I mean, I refuse to go out and buy a PlayStation 4 just for that one game.
Well, it depends on what kind of exclusivity you're talking about. If you're talking about something like Nintendo, they make the game, it's their platform, that makes perfect sense. When you talk about something like you were just mentioning, where Sony says, here you go, Square Enix, here's a big bag of money, don't put your game on other platforms. I despise that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, obviously, Final Fantasy, as far as we know, is a timed exclusive, so I don't mind that so much. It's still a bit of a, a bad move for the consumer, but at least there's the option of waiting it out until it becomes available on your preferred platform. I think Nintendo, as much as I hate the fact that I can only ever play a Nintendo game like Mario on a Nintendo console, you know what I mean? It just is a fact of life, hence why I went out and bought a Switch for Pokemon and for another game as well. I can't remember what it was now. But it just is a fact of life. But I fully agree with you, Bill. If you can play the game wherever you want to play, then that means more than exclusives to me.
I guess that's one of the, as people have said before, it's one of the positives of cloud gaming, though, right? How you'll be able to, once all these platforms have the majority of their game library online, you'll be able to say, oh, I want to play this here, and you don't have to buy this big expensive box. You sub for a month, you play the game, you unsub, or you buy it on a platform, you play it on that platform.
See, I'm a bit of a weird one because I've said this probably in every single podcast we've ever done, but I used to be an Xbox guy, and really? I kind of like all my things to be in one ecosystem. I like my achievements to be on Xbox and obviously now Stadia, and the idea of jumping from platform to platform doesn't really appeal to me that much. But that doesn't mean that can't appeal to other people. If that's what other people want to do, then more power to you. But I like all of my things to be in one position.
I don't think we'll ever have that, though, right? Of just
no,
one...
we never will. It's just something that gets to me personally, but I try not to let it affect me too much. But maybe I'm just weird like that. So it is a bit disheartening sometimes when you see something announced for a platform that's not the one that you're currently subscribed to. But I guess it's just a fact of life. If I really wanted to go out and play the new PlayStation game that was an exclusive, I could go out and buy a PlayStation. But
good luck.
Yeah, well, PlayStation 4 maybe. But
okay.
But yeah, that's about it for Stadia news this week. It was also GeForce Now Thursday today, with a bunch of new games arriving day and date. There's quite a few, so I'm not going to list any. But is anyone played any of these? Looking to play any of these? I know Saints Row I've played on Stadia and refunded on Stadia, which is coming in 2 days' time to GeForce Now. None of the others I'm really particularly.
Chess Ultra.
Chess Ultra, is that you? Is that a bit of you? You're a Grandmaster chess player.
No, I do play chess. I don't play as much as I'd like, but I might
Space
check that one
Invaders
out.
Extreme.
Yeah, getting old school.
I mean, how extreme can Space Invaders be, really? But
no, I'm interested to see what that Just Die Already is, because I know it's something to do with old people, and I was kind of looking at it thinking, I mean, it's a bit harsh, but
you thought enough that I want a piece of that. I want to see what that's all
I want
about.
to see what it's about. So
Right.
I think last week we had like something to do with the dangers of ski lifts or something. I can't remember. Me, Rock, and Clive were laughing about that. So it's nice to see these little quirky games coming out, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it's good to have a constant flow of games coming, right? Yeah, lots of mixture of games like Hearts of Iron, big strategy game. Saints Row, obviously, the sort of crazy, wacky game. Like there's just such a variety in games coming to GeForce Now.
GeForce Now Thursdays. I mean, obviously we had something like 61 games or something announced for this month, and there's something for everybody in there. There's the big AAAs, there's the smaller quirky games, there's children's games, there's racing games. It's just great to see that many games coming out to the platform.
Yeah, and being supported by various different stores and services, Steam, Epic, Uplay, and stuff like that. So
the ones that I'm interested in are Beyond Good and Evil. I had, for those of you that don't know, I've got a podcast called 143 Pixels where we just talk about one game. Each episode, somebody comes on and we talk about one game. And I had a guest on, and she picked that game as the one that she wanted to talk about. I never played it, but everything that she said about it sounded really cool. Like, you are on this weird, you're a human, but there's like your dad's some kind of weird animal, and aliens are invading, and you're a journalist who's trying to uncover the story, and there's stealth mechanics and cool combat mechanics. Everything she said about it sounded really cool. And you know, everybody that it's been reviewed extremely well. So that one's definitely interesting. And then the other one that I think looks really good that I've played on, I think on the Nintendo Switch, is Bad North, which is this little top-down real-time strategy game where you have this island that you are defending from like these invaders that are coming on boats, and it's really, really good. Everything about it is awesome. It's another one of those games where I'm bad at it. So you know, I didn't get to play for too long, but you've got these houses on the island, and you have to defend, and you know, you defend one island from all the people coming in on the boats, and then you go to the next island and you have to defend that island. And I almost feel like I remember that it's like a roguelike. I could be wrong, but I feel like the islands are procedurally generated. So you kind of have like this branching diagram of almost like a dendritic set of a dendritic branches going across as you move through the different islands that you get to pick and defend. And as you play on these islands, you pick up new commanders, and they have special abilities. It's a really, really cool game, and I love the art style as well.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Nice.
Yeah, it's just great to see. I mean, like I said a minute ago, great to see the amount of games coming out on GeForce Now at the moment.
Yeah, and there's literally something for everyone. Like, the variety is huge.
I mean, I know there's not as much work required to put in these games into the cloud as what there is like Stadia or Luna or something like that. But I guess that's the convenience of GeForce Now, isn't it? You can play the games that you already own, and some of these games people might already own. So a lot of these games came out in anywhere between, I think I've seen one that was like 2004 up until present day. So,
well, yeah, like Dissa just said in chat, Hearts of Iron 2 is about 10 years old or something silly.
Yeah.
I think Beyond Good and Evil came out in 2003. Yeah. Like some of these are really, really old games, but just because it's an old game doesn't mean everybody's played it.
No. And some people might have bought it all those years ago, and now, I don't know, they don't have a PC, they just have a tablet or whatever, and they just want to play it on there. Like, computing as such has moved on since even in the last 5 years, that people aren't buying PCs and stuff anymore. They're just using tablets and phones and stuff. So these cloud services give them opportunity to play the games that they once had.
And I think this was my argument. We got a lot of people like slating Stadia for the fact that older games were coming out, like the old Tomb Raiders and things like that. I can safely say that the definitive edition Shadows of the Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider, I'd never played those games before. I think I had the Tomb Raider definitive edition on Xbox because I think it came out on Games with Gold at one point, but I never got a chance to play it. And then when it came out on Stadia, and I got it for I think it was like £4 or something like that. And I played it and it was amazing. And even my father-in-law, who's not played a Tomb Raider since the PlayStation 1, he completed all 3 on Stadia. He actually bought a Stadia Premier Edition just to play those 3 games. He sold it to my partner, or his daughter, after he'd finished with it. But so yeah, it's good to see these games coming out. It, like Bill said, even if it's an old game, doesn't mean everybody's played it. So it'll give you another opportunity to dive in and play something you might have otherwise missed. You
can't fill a platform by just putting new games on there. Like you need to have some kind of a library behind that. So,
but I want AAA.
That's a conversation for another day. All right,
you're no fun. I'm trying to cause problems. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Hey, you can cause some problems in a second because this is just addition. It's time for the hot topic. Today, we're just going to talk about Stadia's longevity, what we think our opinions on it. We've had some evidence in like the last few days and weeks of maybe some reorganization. We've had a few recent job hires, game ratings, etc. So just maybe ask the panel what we think. Is there any evidence to show that Stadia are thinking in the future still? I know Jack Buser did an interview last year saying that they were looking at, like they were done with this year. They were looking for games in the beyond. Do we think with things like Lies of P that's still happening? We saw the new social lead on Twitter. I don't want to pronounce her name because I'll get it wrong. Shaka.
Princessology at
Princessology, exactly.
She's the social marketing manager for Google Stadia, and she's ex-Pokemon as well. So
yeah, and like I'll just quickly say, like I said to Dan before we started, we were talking about her and how it's quite a big job to leave somewhere like Pokemon to come to Stadia that doesn't have a great reputation at the moment. So either they've said, hey, look, this is what we're doing. We're excited about it. Do you want to be part of it? And she thought, yeah, that's cool. I want a new challenge. I want to go with it. Or they just said, here's a big check. Please be our social manager for a while. What were your thoughts, Bill? Do you think like people like her are like a positive sign that Stadia is alive and well, as they said a few days ago? Or
I've never had any doubt that Stadia is alive and well. I think Google is just keeping their head down and doing what they know that they need to do and not responding to things. When you start responding to things, you're gonna get trapped into talking about the things about your platform that are not good. And let's all be honest, there are definitely things about Stadia that are not good, but the way it works is not one of them. It works fantastically. And you mentioned a second ago, you said Stadia's bad reputation. I don't really think that Stadia has a bad reputation. I think Stadia has no reputation. Like you ask,
isn't that the same thing though?
Well, maybe. But if you ask most gamers, they would be like, I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I've never heard of it.
You still get on Twitter.
We're kind of in that bubble, so that we notice all of the things. Like when somebody says something bad, we notice that. But if I went up to most people and said, hey, do you know what Stadia is? They would say no. If I handed them a controller and showed them, they would and just didn't tell them that it was in the cloud, they would not know. No. And it just works really, really well. So I think that Google is just going to continue doing what they're doing and ignoring all of the quote unquote haters out there, because the haters are a vocal minority. And then, of course, there's the people who are like proselytizing it all of the time. They're an even smaller minority, but they're also incredibly vocal. But if you look at the vast majority of everybody out there, I just think nobody really knows about it yet, which is fine. It's a new platform, and it's going to take some time. If it were a platform where you had to buy a box, put it under your TV, and then there's a shelf life before that box is no longer useful, then I think that they've had a terrible, like it's dead already. But because you don't have to buy a box and put it under your TV, and they can upgrade their servers without doing anything in my house, I don't think that it matters how long it takes. And I think Google knows that. And that's why they're making hires like this, because they know that in the long run, they're going to win. Somebody said recently, I don't remember who it was, but they said right now we're in the point where people are like, at first they laugh at you, or no, at first they ignore you, and then they laugh at you, and then they lose to you. And right now we're in the they ignore you phase. And there's some that are laughing, but most people are just ignoring us. And that's fine. But eventually, cloud gaming is the future. It's just going to happen. And I think that Google does it better than anybody else.
Yeah, I think it's like you said in one of your streams the other day, the slow burn as well, Bill. And I think you're right. I think they've made the mistake of when they first came out, they said it has this many Ks and Ps and it's on par with Xbox, and they made all these promises, and then all of a sudden things haven't kind of like happened the way that people assumed they would, and Google have never said that they would. But I think when you mentioned a minute ago, Dom, that people like Princessology on Twitter, I'm not going to pronounce it as well. My mind just says Chaka Khan for some reason, but yeah, for someone to come from Pokemon, like you've got to think about how big Pokemon is and how beloved Pokemon is as well. And like I can only imagine that working for a company such as Pokemon it's probably a lot of people's dreams, to be fair. It's probably a job like any other job, but there's probably a certain amount of job satisfaction that you get for working for a brand like Pokemon. So to come from a brand such as Pokemon to Stadia, there must have been, you know what I mean? I don't think the check is good enough to entice someone from a job that's probably got as much job satisfaction. I'm assuming, obviously I've never worked for Pokemon. So I think she's probably seen something special in Stadia. And I think we said this just before the show started. I've got to be careful how I choose my words here, but like when it comes to large corporations, like they obviously have a goal that they set out to achieve. And sometimes I wonder if Stadia has not hit some of the goals that Google set out to hit. And unfortunately, sometimes that falls on the heads of said departments. Now, I'm not saying for a second that that's what's happened here, that the people that have left Stadia recently have gone because they've not hit targets or something like that. I wonder if that's the case in some respects. Some people have left because they were maybe forced, or maybe Google's looking for someone to blame for not hitting certain sales targets.
I think it's also important to note, right, that Stadia launched and has had quite a difficult period in time. So not only was there the pandemic, which I'm sure messed up some plans, delayed plans, meetings had to be counted, whatever, like they would have disrupted their flow. But not only things like some of the big launch games all got delayed. So things like Cyberpunk was supposed to come out fairly early on. I think it was April in the year, and it ended up coming in December. Watch Dogs Legions was delayed. Again, that was a game that's supposed to come out earlier. So it had this big gap in not having these games, which then led to that kind of... I know, as Bill said, we are a small community and we are not really seen in the greater gaming verse yet. But like that lapse of games and nothingness kind of manifested, and everyone was getting a bit tetchy, and it's tricky. I think like people forget the times of like the pandemic and stuff. I think that really had such a massive impact. I don't know.
But I think that's when people needed these games and these platforms the most. And I think that's why it's probably come across on places like Twitter as being a little bit more hostile than it should have been, because people are stuck at home, and I mean they've got time to play games. And
well, people get people are going to be mad at me for saying this, but I think that people who are fans of Stadia are just way too friggin' defensive. They like every time anybody sneezes in their general direction, they're like, I have to defend. Get the torches, get the pitchforks, let's get them. And I'm like, just what do you care about what these other people say? The only reason that people are memeing about Stadia is because they know that it pushes people's buttons. Just ignore those people and play the games that you like. Why does anybody care what anybody else thinks? That's the thing that drives me absolutely bananas.
Yeah, a high percentage of people that play Stadia probably have no idea who even the three of us are. They just play games. They just want to play games, and they don't. They're back and forth on Twitter, and
like I have friends, and like even my brother who plays Stadia, and like he doesn't follow any Stadia news. He doesn't read about Stadia. He doesn't really care about Stadia. He just plays games. Like that's it. That's all he wants to do, and he likes the fact that he can play it on his PC, and then when it like his daughter needs to go to sleep, he can go downstairs and carry on the TV. Like that's it. That's all he wants to do. Like there's no politics of like, oh, but IGN said this, and it's like, yeah, who like people get riled up. I guess people are defensive because they kind of like people, especially if you're passionate about something. If someone says something like maybe wrong about them, then the people would think, oh, I need to defend that because they're feeling passionate about it. Like I don't know.
I think, to be fair, the reason I came up with I have no idea, Ruben.
Just three randoms, Ruben.
Yeah, but three randoms that you are here listening to, so we thank you for that. Yeah, the reason I wanted to pick this hot topic, number one, was because I couldn't think of another hot topic that was worth talking about. Not much has happened. Not much has happened really over the last few weeks. But the actual reason was because I wanted to kind of to maybe nitpick a little bit what the little things that we've seen, the little nuggets of information that we've seen happening in the Stadiaverse that might kind of give us a better idea. And a bit more reassurance that Google are actually in this for the long run, because no matter how many times they come out and say, I mean, they had the Game Biz, I can't remember the actual website name, last week that said, we're in this for the long haul. But no matter how many times you read those type of headlines, there's people that still think that Stadia are just going to pack this in the next.
But you get the people that were like, oh, Stadia needs to come out and say that everything's fine. So then Stadia did that. And then they were like, yeah, but that's not enough. I
just wanted to kind of look at the little things, like you said, the new hires in at Princessology on Twitter and the game announcements that we've got. Like you said, if Lies of P is coming and it's coming 2023, then we've got almost like a roadmap of Stadia for the next few years. So I just wanted to basically see if there was anything else maybe that we'd missed, or anything that we could look to on Twitter, on websites that kind of prove Stadia are in this for the long run.
I don't have any evidence. Okay. No. But I'm going to tell you why Google is going to stay with this for a long time. And that's because the video game industry makes more than the movies and TV and music combined. And Google says, you know what? I would like 30% of that.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Like there's just so much money to be had there. And if they have games on Stadia and people can stream using just Stadia without having to have a capture card, without having to have a super high upload rate, and that means people are going to be streaming, people who want to stream but don't have all of the equipment that they need to stream, they're going to do it on Stadia because they can go straight to YouTube without having a super, like you just have to have a good download speed. You don't have to have a good upload speed. And then Google gets to make money on that end as well. When you look at that, it's just, it would be foolish for Google to walk away from this. And that's why I just don't see them doing that. It doesn't make any sense.
Do you see them involving YouTube more in Stadia? And like that link between them becoming tighter and maybe even rolling into like YouTube Premium or something?
I mean, if they don't, then they're foolish. They do need to like make YouTube Premium. Give me an option to pay an extra $5 a month on top of YouTube Premium that includes Stadia Pro.
Yeah.
And this is really more of a complaint about YouTube than it is about Stadia, but YouTube needs to fix their UI for watching live streams. It's terrible. If you have a high-res monitor and you hit the T button, it pushes chat down below. That's not fun. Like, just steal Twitch's UI and you're fine. Yeah. You win. In fact, you already had it with YouTube Gaming. It was great. As soon as that stuff gets fixed, it's just going to be off to the races.
Like they are making efforts. Like the clips feature and everything is starting to come up, and like the sub-only chat and blah blah blah. Like they are getting there, I think, and they are catching up Twitch in terms of like viewers and everything, and they're growing.
You're not wrong about that at all. Like, I think YouTube is the future of streaming, where Twitch is going to be the one that the olds do because that's where they started and that's where they're going to stay. But the fact of the matter is YouTube had a better UI with YouTube Gaming. They had a UI that was above and beyond what Twitch had, and then they said, screw it. Let's shove everything into the other one. It doesn't make any sense to me.
So I've always seen like the integration between YouTube and Stadia is kind of like, I know they're both Google products, but we all know that a lot of the Google products run kind of independently of one another, sometimes crossing over where they need to. But like, I've always kind of seen YouTube is obviously a respected brand. Everybody knows what YouTube is. Not a lot of people know what Stadia is, and all of a sudden, if they started plastering Stadia all over YouTube, which again is a well-known, respected brand, and Stadia isn't quite up to that same level, I think that they're trying to obviously bring Stadia up to be a more well-known brand, a more respected brand before they kind of start plastering it all over YouTube. I think that's kind of where I'm seeing things go.
They shouldn't have called it Stadia. Stadia is a terrible name. It should have been called Google Games, GG for short. It's a gamer, like people say GG all the time. Or, if you really wanted to be weird, YouTube Games. Yeah. It's streaming. People would understand what it is. I don't know why they didn't do that.
I guess like you wouldn't have that question of people going like, "What is Stadia?" Well, like,
right?
If I literally said to someone on the street, "What do you think Stadia is?" The plural of stadium, like that's
some very fancy people that they know that.
Hey, I live in London.
Our Prime Minister actually mentioned Stadia the other day. Of course, he was talking about football Stadia, but
yeah,
I was like, he knows what Stadia is. Woo.
Here in America, we say stadiums.
But yeah, like I'm not what I was since Stadia came out. I've kind of always been like, I think they're going to stick it in for the long haul. I had a little wobble with SG&E. I think a lot of people did, but like now I'm just going to play games.
I think the more time you spent thinking about that closure, the more it made sense to me, at least. Anyway,
yeah, and like it kind of sucks that we never really saw what the game, like their visions for games were. And whether we'll ever will with a third party that Google have said, "Hey, do you want to make this game for us?" Who knows?
I have no doubt that like the visions that they had for games, if they were really serious about bringing them to the platform or bringing them to the light of day on any platform, like they've done with Outcasters, bringing it to another publisher, they will just allow another publisher to bring that vision to life. Maybe they'll fund it. Maybe they'll see it in some respect. It just won't have SG&E written all over it.
I hope so, because that's the thing about Stadia that I was most excited for.
Yeah.
Was the thing that can't be done on a console. Right now, all of the games that I'm playing, I can play with a box under my TV. That's boring. I want to see the things that a box under my TV cannot do.
Yeah.
That is super interesting to me. I think that we will still see that stuff, but I think it's going to take longer. I'm anticipating 2024 before you see a single cloud native game.
Do you think Stadia will be first?
The first platform to have a cloud native game?
Yeah, to have something that can only be done in the cloud.
I don't know. I mean,
because I know Microsoft recently spoke about it.
Yeah, I would say Microsoft would probably be faster at getting that to happen. Well, you know what though? Microsoft has the thing that I was always saying about the difference between xCloud and Stadia is Stadia was like, we're all in. We're not also trying to sell you a box. Yeah. Microsoft is still trying to sell you a box. They're being a little more trepidatious than Stadia is. So maybe they'll play it safe and wait. Whereas Google has no reason to play it safe. But then again, they're no longer making games. Like the pandemic hit, they weren't going to, they froze all hires. And that's why the games, they realized making games is too expensive, which Google, if you just asked, anybody would have told you that. Anybody would have said, you know what? It's really expensive to make your own games. Why don't you just buy games? I think that would have been a better move, but maybe Luna will do it first. I don't know, because Amazon's at least still making their own games. I mean, sort of. Everybody says that their games are kind of terrible. So it just goes to show you, having a lot of money doesn't mean you can make games. You gotta be good at it.
The one game that they are bringing out to both to Luna that they're making is also coming to Steam. So that's not
New World, right?
Yeah.
I did the beta. I'm in the beta or alpha or something for that. It's NDA, so I can't say anything about it. I have not played much. It didn't grab me.
They recently caught headlines because they put in a store into the game with some microtransactions, which some players were not particularly happy about. Because it was stuff like I don't know if you've ever played the Star Wars MMO.
Oh yeah.
So you can play that free to play, but then equally you can buy stuff which then benefits you. And I think New World was following the same thing of like, you have to pay for fast travel, you have to pay for X this and this and this, but you don't actually need it, but it just makes your game easier and faster and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, the Star Wars The Old Republic, you have to pay for a second hotbar. I'm not joking. You have 12 buttons along the bottom. If you want to have 24 buttons along the bottom, you got to pay money.
Yikes. Well, that's what we saw recently, though. Lots of game publishers and stuff are saying that they're going to move more towards these smaller games and free to play with microtransactions because it makes them more money. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. I think we will leave it there. And I think that's it. Thanks, guys, for joining. Thank you very much, Bill, for joining us on this fine Thursday evening.
Thank you.
If people want to find you, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me at nerdnest.tv. That's our YouTube channel where we talk about video games. I have another YouTube channel that I just started. I got 50 subscribers, so please check it out. It's just my name. It's Bill Fairchild, and it's about Mac OS, iOS, like that kind of stuff. It's more tech and less gaming, and it's just something that I'm interested in that. And so whenever I find something that I'm interested in, I make a show about it. And so please do me a favor and check that out. You'll see my stupid face on there if you go to YouTube and look for it. And then I have Nintendo Switchcraft, StadiaCast, and 143 pixels. And I already told you about what 143 pixels is. The other ones are self-explanatory.
Cool. Thank you very much. Dan, thank you very much for coming to your show.
Thank you for having me on my show.
Thanks for all the viewers. everyone that joined us today. Ruben, Blue Bobs, Random Noob, Disto, Nerf Report was here. Jem was here. Ray, loads of people here. Clive, Eddie. Thanks, guys, everyone, for joining. If you've been listening to the podcast, you can join us most Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can download our podcast on Spotify, Pocket Cast, and everywhere else you get podcasts. Just search for Gaming Source Net, and you'll find us there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Gaming Source Net. Like us on Facebook. Join our Discord at stadiasource.com/Discord. Check out all our GSN, GeForce Now Source, and Stadia Source merch at stadiasource.com/merch. Hosting generously provided by Rock. If your business is looking for a tech powerhouse to launch the next big app, want to implement some cutting-edge AI, or simply need the best web development money can buy, check out all the services provided by the company at rokk.co.uk. It's celebrating 20 years next year, if that Rock left in the show notes. So congratulations, Rock. If you haven't already, down below is a thumbs up button that lets us know you like the show, and right next to it is a subscribe button that lets you know every time we post a new video. You can also become a member of the Gaming Source Network channel by clicking the join button below, with great perks at every level of your budget. I've been Dom. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Dan. And on behalf of Gaming Source Network. Oh, wait, I haven't. No. I need to also thank these guys. I had this ready. I just didn't do it. All our supporters from the Crystal tier, Platinum tier, Gold tier, Silver tier, Bronze tier, and all the wonderful people that have bought us a coffee, and our past subscribers. Thank you very much. I've been Dom. This has been the Gaming Source Network, your number one source for all things gaming. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a good one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Thank you.